Hello, hello, hello. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the HeartLine Heart Talk with Adelai Brown. I am so happy to have you here with me today, and I'm so thankful to be having these conversations with you. Remember, the purpose of the HeartLine is to build heart equity. What is heart equity? Personal, relational, and financial wealth through authentic living. I know that many of you are living. I know that you are doing the things in life that are required for you to get through your day, to handle your responsibilities, take care of your business. However, are you living authentically? That's what the Heartline is about. We are living in a time, in a season in our lives and in the world where we need more than ever to be doing what it is that we were created to do. Not the things that society suggests that you do, not the things that your parents wanted you to do, that your teachers suggested that you do, but what is deep down on the inside of you? What is that thing that is calling for you to release it and express it into the earth? That's what creating and growing heart equity is all about. It is about the wealth that is within you, the wealth that is generated when you connect with others in an authentic way, as well as the wealth that is generated when you operate in the world, in the marketplace, the way you were designed to operate, which will in turn bring about financial wealth. So I'm really excited about today. I'm also really excited about the fact that we are celebrating Domestic Violence Month. We're not so much celebrating, but we're bringing awareness to domestic violence, and we're also bringing awareness to breast cancer. And one of the things that I know to be true about breast cancer as well as domestic violence, both of these terrible situations and instances that many of us have experienced in some way, shape, or form, whether it's us or a loved one via domestic violence or breast cancer and or both. One of the things that I know to be true is that breast cancer, as well as domestic violence, is brought on a lot of times by stress. It is brought on by life circumstances that that go on unresolved, and as a result, they are now manifesting in negative, adverse ways. So a lot of times we like to deal with domestic violence and breast cancer as if they're separate things. But in my world, in the way that I see the world and the way that I experience life, I know that the same things that'll be out here causing domestic violence are the same things that'll be causing breast cancer in a sense. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about self-awareness and how it can save your life, because the truth of the matter is, if you're not aware of yourself, you can't control yourself. And if you can't control yourself, then inevitably you're going to experience some type of violence, some type of dis-ease in your life, in your body, in your relationships, in your finances, because you're not aware of what's going on. So it is very important in this season of life for you not to be distracted, right? One of the things that I teach my clients when I'm working with individuals, I have a 6-step process that is tried and true. I've used it in my life and I help others do the same. And the thing that I know about this 6-step process is the first step is connection. And you cannot do anything if you're not connected. Prior to me doing this pod today, doing this show today, I had to connect my phone to a charger so that I could use my phone for the recording, right? If I didn't connect my phone to the charger, even though my phone works, there's no problem with my phone. But if my phone wasn't connected to a charger to get the power and the energy from the source, then I wouldn't be able to use it. And see, a lot of us are living very limited lives. A lot of us are trying to deal with domestic violence issues within ourselves, domestic violence issues in the relationships that we have. And when we think about domestic violence, I also think about an inefficiency in how you're managing your life. It can cause violent, difficult, stressful consequences on you and your loved ones when you're not taking account and being accountable for how you're living your life. So I want to talk to you today about why it's so important to, one, be connected, but that connection brings about a level of awareness. It's almost like somebody telling you that you have spinach in your teeth, right? If I was doing this live, look, I'm looking at my teeth. If I was doing this video and somebody like you told me, look, you got some spinach in your teeth. You sent me a private message. Look, you got some spinach in your teeth. I can respect that because I made a connection, right? I made this connection, which allowed me to be aware of some things that I may not have been aware of before I made this connection. And I feel like a lot of you are going through difficult things in your life. Maybe you're not in a domestic violence situation where you're physically in altercations with your loved ones and those that are dearest to you, but are you in mental and emotional arguments and altercations? With us coming on to the holidays, this is a time that causes a lot of stress for people, right? People really get very stressed out. People really find themselves very overwhelmed this time of year. And one of the things that I found is that people are stressed out and overwhelmed this time of year. It's all about being authentic and being honest about where you are. And see, what happens is, I talk to people about triggers. See, a lot of times we don't realize that most of our day, most of our lives, you are going through in response to triggers. It's almost like living a life like you're in a proverbial bumper car. And every time you bump up against a trigger, you go off in another direction. And what happens when you start to become more aware, you start to realize what's triggering you. And so this time of year, you might find yourself sabotaging your finances. You might find yourself spending emotionally. You might be doing things. All kind of emergencies are coming up with your finances. Why? Because you're sabotaging yourself so that you can have an excuse not to go out of town to that family member's house for dinner. And the truth of the matter is, you've been doing this for the past 5 or 6 years, but because you're not connected, so therefore you're not aware, you don't even realize the way you're secretly sabotaging yourself. Like, I'm really trying to cut to the chase here. I really believe that our lives will be enhanced exponentially when we just start to become more aware of why we're doing what we're doing. And see, what I found is a lot of people don't want to be aware. That's why they stay busy. A lot of people will overwork, they will overeat, they will overserve, overcompensate, overdrink, over whatever it is you can think of, whether it's a quote unquote good thing or not. When you are doing things to stay distracted from how you're feeling, it's a problem. Because when you're not aware of what you're feeling and you're not dealing with what you're feeling, what happens is it starts to control you. And you start finding yourself saying, I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. I don't know why I keep allowing this person to treat me this way. I don't know why I keep overcompensating for this particular situation. I want to just present this to you. Maybe you do know why, but it's too difficult for you to tell yourself the truth right now. So you rather receive and live in a lie. And we can no longer do that. See, we like to talk about other people being violent towards us, other people hurting us, not being truthful, not being trustworthy. But when you're not telling yourself the truth, when you're not being honest with yourself, when you're asked, are you okay? And you say yes when you know you're not, that's domestic violence. You are willingly, like you're not acknowledging something that is right in front of you. But when someone else misuses you, mistreats you, misguides you, hurts you in some way, you're so upset and you're up in odds about it, but you won't even hold yourself to that standard for yourself. One of the things I've had to realize in this season of my life, and this is just me talking about me, like I've been committed to doing this hard work for years. I didn't realize how insecure and how much I doubted myself because I didn't deal with the fact that I was a teenage mother. I didn't deal with the fact that I felt rejected and abandoned at a younger age. I dealt with it by stuffing it down. I dealt with it by having a grudge and a chip on my shoulder because I wanted to prove to everyone who left me and abandoned me and rejected me that I didn't need them. Me and my family didn't need them. We could do it without them. Now, I wasn't saying this, but it was in my heart. And if you had asked me if I felt this way, I would have told you no. But the truth of the matter is, when I started to get connected, when I really committed to building this relationship with God, interacting with the Holy Spirit, like, Lord, what are you trying to tell me? Please lead and guide me. What I started to realize was it wasn't about me rushing forward and achieving a lot of things. It was really more about me slowing down and uncovering and taking the time to uncover what was in that foundation. I feel like if you're going to live a successful life, you have to acknowledge the fact that you're going to have to be an archaeologist. What do archaeologists do? They dig through rubble. They go deep in areas and they find things in the dirt that you might not know what it is, but it's telling us things about ourselves because we're learning more about the past. They're usually the one that's digging up dinosaur bones and finding all kinds of artifacts from ancient societies that maybe we are wanting to learn more about, because what we know is that when we know more about our history, we have a firm footing and we have more leverage when it comes to moving forward in our future. But see, we have gotten to this point where we're in a society and a culture that's telling us just get over it, just move on. You don't need people to to you don't need to worry about that. That was in the past. You just need to move on. And all of those things are true. But the thing about that is when something happens to you in your past, no matter if it was quote unquote a good or bad thing, it leaves an imprint, it leaves a mark. And that mark impacts the decisions that you make, it impacts your belief systems, and those belief systems will impact the decisions that you make. So, for you to be in control of your life truly, you're going to have to be more aware. See, a lot of people shut down their lives and they try to put themselves in a circle or in a bubble so that they can prevent things out of their control from happening, right? That's not realistic. That's not life. If you're going to actually live a life of freedom, if you're going to actually live a life that you enjoy, the life you were created to live, you're going to have to accept the fact that you cannot control anyone but yourself. But when you really commit to being in control of yourself, it transforms your life and the lives of those around you. I used to literally, I love my mother and my father, but I used to despise them because I was so angry and I was so hurt about how I felt like they abandoned me, and I felt like they were not the parents that I should have had, and they should have been there for me more. They should have supported me more. They should have encouraged me more. I should not have been out there figuring it out and having to survive the way that I did. That's how I used to feel. But as I started to work on myself, as I started to really open my heart and become more aware of what my feelings and my emotions were, I realized a lot of that anger, frustration, and hurt wasn't just directed at my parents. It was directed at a lot of other situations and circumstances that I was currently going through at the time, but things from my past. I like to compare hard work when you have not been doing hard work is just like when you have to eat food. And I talked about this on a previous show. Every time you eat, your body should release waste within a couple hours. Your body is designed to release waste. So your physical body is designed to release waste every time you eat, right? Every time you experience something to nourish the body, there is always some type of waste that's going to come with it. It's the same thing with your heart and your soul, right? Your heart and soul, these terms are used interchangeably. You're a triune being. You are spirit, you are soul, and you are body. And the thing about it is, you understand that your body needs to go to the bathroom every day. You understand that. You also understand, if you don't, you can research this. Your waste that you release from your body can also tell you what's going on in your body. A lot of times a doctor can diagnose you, a doctor can help you figure out what's going on with you physically, mentally, emotionally, all by the physical waste that you're excreting. The problem comes in where far too many of us do not release the mental, emotional, and spiritual waste that we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. When your feelings are hurt, when you're feeling envious and jealous, when you're feeling rejected, when you're feeling abandoned, for those of you who are people pleasers, when you feel that need to overcompensate because you feel someone might be taking love away from you, but those of you who are very argumentative and very confrontational, when you feel the need that you have to let people know not to play with you because something on the inside is feeling threatened, it's something on the inside feeling like I need to get them up off of me. I need to protect myself. I am talking about dealing with those emotions, those feelings. What is that? Why do you feel like you need to protect yourself? When did you start feeling that way? What other things are going on in your life when you feel that way? What do you do? When you feel like you're being rejected or abandoned by your family, how do you handle them? When you feel like you're being left out or overlooked at work, how do you handle those situations? See, all of us have triggers, and those triggers bring about certain behaviors, certain thoughts and behaviors. And it's in this loop that you'll find yourself in. And when you start to become more aware of yourself, then you can get yourself out of that loop or that hamster wheel. You begin to start to release the emotional waste, the mental waste. This is why a lot of people are mentally ill, because they're not relieving and releasing the mental and emotional waste. Your feelings, your emotions, they are the foundation of your mental well-being. So you want to have your mind right, and you want to think and have strong thoughts and be able to deal with what's coming in and out of your life every day. Well, the only way you're really going to be able to do that is being honest about how you feel and knowing how to manage that. And not just how you feel. You have to start to learn how to manage others and their feelings, because that's impacting you every day. You have to learn how to exhibit self-control in every area of your life. This is what I know. We can exhibit self-control publicly, but what are you doing privately? What are you doing when nobody's looking? What are you saying to yourself? What kind of habits and behaviors do you have? It is time for you to be aware. What is your self-talk? What are your expectations of yourself and those that are around you? See, we want to take the time to get to know everybody else. I bet you can tell me a lot about your spouse or your significant other. I bet you could tell me a lot about that person that's always getting under your skin and getting on your nerves. And every time they say something, it's like, it just irritates you. You could tell me a lot about them. But what about you? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you playing small? Or why are you trying to overcompensate? What are you trying to cover up? This is what domestic violence is all about. When I think about domestic violence, it's like a stereotype. I have this image of like this man towering over this woman, and she's just kind of helpless. But what I realize is domestic violence is so much deeper than that. It is so much more prevalent than people realize, because we like to focus on the violence that is shown behaviorally, right? And here we build heart equity. So if you want to focus on the violence that is being shown, like behaviorally, right? But what about the violence that the individuals are doing within themselves? What about the violent thoughts that you're thinking? Thoughts that you're not good enough, thoughts that you can't get it, thoughts that people like you don't do things like this. That's domestic violence. What about you choosing not to be supportive? You choosing not to help people because of how it's going to challenge you, because of how it's going to put you out? What about you being intentional about not helping and supporting somebody else because you're afraid they're going to get further along than you? But you don't do it overtly. It's a covert thing. You're not available, or you sabotage so that you don't have time or money or whatever to invest in that situation. I feel like the Lord is calling me to talk about some of the things that you wouldn't even write in your journal. You wouldn't even tell a therapist. But what I need you to know is that God knows. God knows why you're doing what you're doing. God knows why you sneak and you hide. God knows why you want to present this image because of how insecure and fearful you feel on the inside. God knows you love your parents and you know that they did the best they could, and you still resent your mother for not being there the way you needed it, and you resent your father for putting that pressure on you that was too much for a little kid. Let's be honest about it. And that might not be your story specifically, but you have one. And can I tell you something? It is domestically violent when you hold back your honest and authentic feelings because you're trying to prevent somebody else's feelings from being hurt. That's a form of domestic violence. It's domestic violence when you don't pursue your dreams and you don't pursue your goals because you know it's going to upset and make people you love and those that are close to you uncomfortable. That's domestic violence. See, it's not always about it's not always about someone physically hurting another. It's domestically violent if you're a sister or a brother and your brother and sister can't trust in you. That's domestic violence. It's amazing to me how many people are okay with hurting their brothers and sisters all for the sake of saying, oh, we family. Like, it's coming up on holiday season. Let's talk about it. We all have those family members that are dependable, that are going to be there regardless. But take the time this holiday season to not just take advantage of the fact that that person is dependable. Take some time to maybe wonder what might they need support with this season. And I know I'm guilty of it. I can get wrapped up in my own little world and really not be thinking about what's going on around me. But when it goes back to being self-aware, like, I work these steps every day. I am intentional about my connection with God. That connection with God, that spiritual wealth, right? When I think about building heart equity, personal wealth, the foundation of what heart equity is, personal wealth is built through your spiritual health and well-being, your mental health and well-being, your emotional health and well-being, your physical health and well-being, right? Those things are important. So if I want to not contribute to domestic violence in my home and in my family, the first place I need to start is making sure that I am building heart equity and building personal wealth within myself so that that can spill out into the relationships around me. As we go into this holiday season, I believe that there are going to be some conversations that need to be had. Some people are going to start telling the truth where they didn't tell the truth before. And people are going to say things like, oh, don't say that. That might hurt their feelings. Tell the truth and shame the devil. Especially in the South, we have been trained that it is more kind to lie to someone in an attempt to not hurt their feelings than it is to tell them the truth and set them free. And I know people do it all over the world. But I think especially in the South, it's like this false sense of Southern hospitality that is a lie. Because let me tell you something, people are nasty and people are people every place we go. But as we go into this season, be honest with yourself and those you love. Don't try to force yourself on people. Don't try to force yourself in environments and situations. If you don't want to be there, don't go. But the flip side to that is if being there forces you to grow and improves you, but you just don't want to be uncomfortable, then you already know you need to be there. See, the thing about doing work and working on yourself, you have to understand that when you're doing this work, this what I call heart work, this emotional wellness, we're building and growing heart equity. You have to understand that various rules apply at different times. It's not a one size fits all kind of thing. The principles apply, but the way they apply and the way they look in your life can be very different from time to time. You may have been in a season where you needed to confront some situations and let people know how you feel and expose, bring some light to some things that were in darkness. Now you might be in a season where you need to be quiet. You need to let the dust settle. You need to let the chips fall where they may. You don't always have to put yourself in the middle to be the one to always have to figure it out. But you want to use discernment to figure that out. And that discernment comes when we're connected so that we can be aware. See, a lot of you are connected to people and you're connected to like cultural norms. So like you're trying to build your life and you might be 50, 60, 70 years old, but you're still trying to live the American dream because you're trying to fit into a mold that somebody else created that was never for you. What is God calling you to? What is that burning desire you have on the inside? I don't care if it doesn't make sense. I don't care if those closest to you don't understand. It does not mean that you don't need to move forward. Self-control is also, it's not so much about not doing things as much as it is about doing the things that you should be doing. All of that is about self-control. And when you have control over yourself, it will save your life and the lives of those around you. I just went through a situation not too long ago where I have found myself, it was a very tough situation. It was very tense. It was very hostile. And one of the things that I realized in the moment, because I had to be very emotionally intelligent and aware if I was going to get out of that environment safely. And I'm telling you, when I put in the title, self-awareness can save, why self-awareness can save your life, it can. Because sometimes we are so accustomed to living our lives in a certain way. And if you have ever found yourself saying things like, well, I've always been like this. This is just how I always been. This is just how I do things. This is just how we always did things like this. Let me tell you something. That's a very dangerous place to be in. Because I had a situation happen not too long ago. I was in a very hostile situation. Honestly, my life arguably was really under attack. And I remember being in that situation. It was a very high stress, very tense situation. And I remember hearing the Holy Spirit say, you can react how you want to react right now, or you can respond the way you need to respond. It's up to you. But this is a matter of life and death. Now, the defense mechanism, the old version of me, let's say the caterpillar version of me, wanted to pop off at the mouth and use my words as a weapon in this situation, because it was very tense and it was very difficult, and it felt like I needed to use my words. That's what my feelings felt like. But in taking deep breaths in the moment, I realized that my words were going to make this situation 100 times worse than it already was. I needed to find victory through silence. Now, in the past, when I found myself in situations like that, I used my words as one of the weapons to get out of that situation. But in this particular situation, I had to be so still and so aware of what the Lord was telling me in that moment. And for those of you wondering, like, how did she know it was the Lord telling her? Because it was a voice speaking to me it was deeper than me. It superseded my understanding. What I knew was my strength was in silence at that moment. I had to be silent. I had to move strategically. And I could not put my value in understanding what was going on. I did not understand what was going on. What I did understand was that I needed to be very strategic to get out of the situation safely. It really could have been a life or death situation. And this wasn't a long time ago. But the reason why I want to bring this up to you is because a lot of you think it's funny. Like, you don't realize that you find yourself in certain trying situations. You're being tested. And you're going to have to really work on being self-aware. You have to be aware of your surroundings. I always taught my kids that. Pay attention to what's going on around you. And not just what you see. Pay attention to what you're feeling. Your feelings matter. Too many of us out here operating like robots. You are not artificially intelligent. You are a human being. You are connected to the ultimate life source of the whole entire everything created. You are not a robot. As much as you may try to associate yourself, you have feelings. When they said that did hurt you. When you get cut, you will bleed. Why? Because you're a human being. Quit acting like you're a robot. Quit acting like you don't care about those things. Quit acting like you can get back at them by like getting revenge. Let me tell you something. The Bible says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. A lot of you don't realize why you can't get your life where you need to get your life and you can't get yourself in the right position. And it's like every time you get yourself on track, you find yourself falling again. You know why? Because you getting vengeance yourself. One thing I had to learn when I got connected, when I started walking through this divine heart transplant process, like I call the heart cubator, when I allowed my heart to go through the heart cubator, and it's still always in the heart cubator because we're always going through these steps. One thing I realized was like how wicked my own heart could be. And I realized how much I put so much emphasis and efforts in getting people back. Like when somebody hurt my feelings, I want to hurt their feelings too. I still feel that way, but it doesn't last long. I have tools to use. That's what these 6 steps are all about. But I'm human. My feelings get hurt all the time. But I no longer say things like, so and so hurt my feelings. Because being self-aware, you understand nobody has the control over you to hurt you unless you choose to be hurt. It's a choice. It's a decision. Somebody can call you a purple people eater and it won't hurt your feelings. But then if they call you ugly, it hurts your feelings. Why? Because you attach value to what they said. They can just start yelling out just nonsense, foolishness. But when you start attaching value to what people said or what they did, that's when it starts hurting or not. And we have to be accountable for ourselves. You have to be accountable for yourself. So if you're going to start to live a life where you're living in awareness, the first thing you're going to have to do is get connected. Now you could believe in whoever and whatever you want to believe in, but for me, it's about my connection to Christ. It's about having the Holy Spirit to lead and guide me, because I don't know. And I will mess it up. I will do the most. I will be very extra. I will forget about it. I will drop the ball. These are things that I know I'll do, but God. But if I'm aware of that, then it puts me in position to get help and get support, because I'm willing to acknowledge, right? I'm aware of it now. I can acknowledge and start to get support and help in these areas. But see, we live in a society and a culture that still puts more value on your doing than your being. But what I'm telling you is, in order for you to have, if you've never heard this term, be, do, have. In order for you to have, you must do. But in order for you to do, you must first be. And the problem is, a lot of us are trying to do in order to become. You have to first be it in order to live it. We've been living in a society that says, I'll believe when I see it. But the truth of the matter is, if you want to live your life without limits, you're going to have to believe, and then that will create what you see. So what are you believing? Do you believe that you're worthy to be treated the way you are? It blows my mind, the things that we'll accept in relationships. It can be personal relationships. I'm talking about mother and children, father and children, brothers and sisters, cousins, siblings, aunts and uncles, nieces, nephews, all of those things. But not just those relationships. It amazes me the things that we'll accept in the workplace. Like, you work in a job being loyal to a company, but you're sick every day because you hate going there. And you have a dream. You have something else you want to do, but you just won't step out and do it. It's time to be aware. It's time for you to start to pay attention to what's going on in your life. Why are you doing the things you're doing or not? It's tension going on in your household. It seems like you just can't get things right. It's like if somebody not sick, it's some type of tension, some type of turmoil. Maybe it's the finances, you can't get it together. The kids are, it's just all over the place, especially if you like me, you have adult children, young adult children, children transitioning, parents getting older. It's a lot of things going. It's a lot of things going on in your life right now. What is it trying to tell you? What changes do you need to make? I really want you to think about that, because this is what we've grown accustomed to. We want to blame other people. Well, I would write that book, or I would move away, but I just don't make enough money. Okay, well, start making a plan to get the money that you need to make the move you know you need to make. I would write that book, but I'm not good with writing. Okay, well, use the voice recorder on your phone or your computer and find somebody to help you edit the book. I want to be closer to my family, but I'm just so upset. Okay, get a therapist, get you a coach. Start talking through what you're so upset about. Start processing that. Start paying attention to what's getting you upset. What was going on up until that moment right before you blew up? What thoughts did you have? What feelings came up? Let's work through that so that when you do get with your parents, when you do get with your siblings, you can enjoy them. And you're not so upset and triggered by what happened 20 years ago. Because there's a lot of you not being honest. You show up to these holiday meals and in these group chats, and this is the truth. I always tell people when they'll talk about a family member that doesn't participate in the group chats, or somebody that always says they're going to do it and they're not going to do it. This is what I tell them. Why? Ask them why. Call it out. I noticed that you always say you're coming and you never come. Is there a reason why? I noticed that you declined the invitation to have dinner with us this year. Would you like to talk about why? Now, for some of you, these are the conversations you need to be having this holiday season. But others, you don't need to be worried about why they're doing it. You need to pay more attention to what is going on within you. This heart work, when we're confronting matters of the heart, which are mental, emotional, spiritual, physical issues that you're dealing with, that are adversely affecting your life, it's the waste of being in life and being in relationships. When we're doing that, we have to really start to break down some of the smallest, minute situations and circumstances, because you don't realize how much those little things contribute to a bigger problem, usually a family problem, a generational problem. The Bible says it's the little foxes that spoil the vine. That's what it tells us. See, we like to get so caught up on the big things. I pay attention to like the sarcasm, the passive aggressive behavior, the subtle ways that people will manipulate and try to control a situation to get people to do what they want them to do. And you might not be paying attention to what they're saying, but if you take some time, you'll start to pay attention to how you're reacting or responding to what they're saying. This is what self-awareness is all about. Why are you so anxious about your image? Why are you so concerned about what people think about you and say about you? It's worth you taking the time to invest in answering that question. This is another thing. What are you pretending to not know that you know? However, you also know that the minute you acknowledge you notice as true, your life has to change. That relationship has to change. Those behaviors have to change. And you're so afraid of what that change looks like that you're just willing to sit here in denial and act like you don't know what's going on. But then you're the same person that wants people to keep it real with you. That's domestic violence at the core. If you're in a domestic violence situation, like physical, emotional, mental abuse, financial abuse, and you know it's abuse, you need to get out. You need to get out. I also want to say that there are a lot of you that are being abused mentally and emotionally by people who say they love you, your parents, your siblings, your significant other, because they manipulate you and they keep control over you by the way they interact with you, the conversations they have, the expectations they have of you, whether they're spoken or unspoken. And you feel that pressure. You know they're expecting you to do or say or show up a certain way. And that's fine. But my question to you is, are you supposed to be showing up like that right now? Is that what God called you to? And if not, why are you doing it? If not, why are you doing it? I feel like I've had to go through some things, y'all, and I'm just being real with y'all. I have had to go through a lot of things for God to show me like what's important and what's not important. The state of your heart is important. And let me help y'all. Let me get this book real quick. Because I really need you to understand what the heart is. The heart in the Strong's Concordance. And I'm going to say this and we're getting ready to finish this up. But the heart, the Hebrew word for heart, one of them is lab, L-E-B, but it's pronounced lab. And it says the heart, also used figuratively, very widely for the feelings, the will, and even the intellect. Likewise, for the center of anything. Heart, mind, midst, understanding, hearted, wisdom, comfortably. It says the noun version of the heart, right? This when you hear me talk about being a heart coach, this is what, when I'm talking about heart, you hear me talking about heart work, the heart line. Why is this so important? This is why. The heart includes not only the motives, feelings, affections, and desires, but also the will, the aims, the principles, the thoughts, and the intellect of man. In fact, it embraces the whole inner man, the head never being regarded as the seat of intelligence. The seat of your intelligence is not your brain, it's your heart. While it is the source of all action and the center of all thought and feeling, the heart is also described as receptive to the influences both from the outer world and from God Himself. Your heart has been influenced and impacted by the outer world enough. This that I'm talking about, self-awareness, helps you to tap more into the influence of God Himself. You get to tap into what's really being said and what you really need to do. That's why the Bible says that the word of God is sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting between soul and spirit. Because when you read the word, when you read the Bible and start to gain understanding, and it does not matter whether you consider yourself a Christian or not, reading the Bible is going to give you wisdom for life. It's teaching you about how God deals with His people. It's not about us. It is about us learning what God has for us and what He wants for us. And this is real, regardless of what you believe. These principles are real. You're going to reap what you sow. If you plant apple seeds, you're going to get apple trees, not oranges, not bananas. Your heart matters. Y'all out here acting like you a savage and you heartless. That's a lie. And that's why your life keeps giving you savage results. That's why you cry yourself to sleep at night and you think just because it's just you and the tear doesn't make a sound on the pillow that you think we can't feel that pain, that we don't experience that pain when we experience you. Let's domestically heal. How do you do that? Let's take some time to connect. And let's take some time to be aware. Start to pay attention to what makes you upset. What makes you sad? What makes you excited? What makes you full of joy? What type of situations or circumstances go on when you start to second guess yourself and feel insecure? What's going on when you're doubting yourself? What thoughts did you have? What experiences were you reminded of? That matters. And if you don't already have a journal, I encourage you to get one. I mean, even if you don't have a journal, you could use a folder. Get you some loose leaf paper. Look, I use my child's social studies and history. He didn't use this, so I'm using it now. I'm taking notes, writing poems, my thoughts, my dreams, my ideas, but those are the things that help me stay aware of myself. It helps me pay better attention to my surroundings and my environment. And the truth of the matter is, it just helps me show up and be a better person altogether. I want you to domestically heal. If you're going to domestically heal, let me tell you something. You're going to have self-awareness. You're going to have to get to know yourself. You've committed to getting to know everybody. You've committed to getting to know your craft, your skill, your trade. But the most important thing, person, situation you need to get to learn and understand is yourself. It matters. You matter. How you feel matters. And if you're surrounded with people and situations that don't care about that, then you got your answer. It's time to put yourself in a new environment. Let the chips fall where they may. But stop holding on to people and circumstances that are slowly sucking the life away from you. You need to domestically heal. You need to build heart equity on a personal level. And as you build that personal wealth, as you build your spirit, you strengthen your heart, you work on making sure your physical body is healthy. All of that's important. You need to prioritize that. And in prioritizing that, you'll be able to show up relationally. You'll see your finances improve. But you have to become aware of yourself before you continuously go out there trying to save and transform everybody else. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm not telling you something I heard about. But I realized as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, as a business owner, as a sister, as a friend, as an auntie, as a business partner, one of the things I realized is that if I'm not connected to God and I'm not telling myself the truth every day, I'm no good to myself or anyone around me. I can put on, I can fake the funk, but it ain't gonna last for but so long because you're gonna run out of gas. When you being fake, it's exhausting. And I consider being fake not being true to yourself. Forget everybody else. If you're going to keep it real and have an expectation of other people keeping it real with you, being honest, being trustworthy, remember, be very clear and aware that you're doing those things for yourself. I love y'all. Remember, we are here every Monday at 12 noon. If you have not, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Heart Coach Talk. We got some great things coming up for you guys. We have a book writing workshop coming up this Saturday. If you haven't registered, you can register for that. You can also share this video with others. If you feel like this helped you, I am sure it will help somebody else. But remember, we are on a mission to build heart equity. We are creating, growing, building heart equity, personal, relational, and financial wealth through authentic living. It is a movement. We're just getting started because I am committed and I believe this wholeheartedly. When you master your heart, you're going to master your life. I love y'all. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, signing out. Have a great day.